An alien queen had executed 47 husbands because none could establish a spiritual connection with her. When the 48th candidate appeared, he didn't tremble in fear, but instead challenged her supernatural powers, setting in motion a series of tragedies and miracles that would change the fate of the Empire and the vast universe. The obsidian ceremony chamber gleamed with an eerie blue glow, casting long shadows across the vast expanse of the Var-Lura royal palace. Queen Ferrara stood motionless at the center of the ritual platform, her pale blue skin contrasting sharply with the deep crimson of her crystalline eyes. Her platinum hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of starlight, swaying gently in the artificial breeze generated by the ancient ventilation systems. Around her, barely visible in the darkness, lay the remnants of past failures. Traces of violet blood from 47 previous consorts still stained the polished obsidian floors despite countless cleaning attempts. The sacred soul bond ritual had claimed 47 lives, yet the Empire's traditions demanded it continue. Without a successful bond before her next royal birthday, Ferrara's life force would begin to wane, and the Empire would plunge into chaos. Each failure weighed upon her like a physical burden, adding to the crushing loneliness of her 1,000-year reign. "Bring in the 48th, she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of generations of Var-Luran rulers, but also a whisper of resignation that only the most perceptive might detect. The massive obsidian doors parted to reveal a human male, flanked by Imperial guards. Unlike the previous candidates, who had been led in trembling or sedated, this one walked with confident strides despite his shackled hands. His tanned skin bore the marks of countless battles, scars crisscrossing his visible arms and neck like a map of survival. His dark, unkempt hair framed a face set with determination rather than fear. Lucas, a warrior of Earth, captured during an interstellar skirmish, kept his gaze level as he approached the Queen. His tattered battle attire had been replaced with ceremonial garments, but they couldn't hide his military bearing. The guards forced him to halt 10 paces from Ferrara, maintaining protocol despite his unusual demeanor. "You know why you are here?" Ferrara's icy tone filled the chamber. Lucas studied her with calculating eyes. "To become number 48, or to end the nightmare of 47 executions." His response hung in the air between them. The Queen's eyes narrowed, accustomed to seeing fear rather than challenge. The court officials lining the walls shifted uncomfortably. No candidate had ever addressed her with such composure. "You stand before the sacred soul bond ritual, human," Ferrara explained, circling him slowly. "This ancient telepathic device will penetrate your mind to measure your resilience. If your brain dissolves under the invasion, you will die, just as 47 others have before you." Lucas maintained his steady gaze. "And if it doesn't?" A flicker of something, perhaps surprise, perhaps interest, crossed Ferrara's features. "Then we proceed to the next trial." "And what exactly are you searching for in these trials?" Lucas asked, unflinching as the bioluminescent patterns in the floor began to pulse beneath his feet. "A mind that can harmonize with mine," Ferrara replied. "A soul that can withstand the full force of my consciousness without shattering. The Empire requires it." "And what if the problem isn't with the candidates?" Lucas ventured boldly. "What if it's with the ritual itself? Or with what you're keeping locked away?" The chamber fell deathly silent. No one had ever dared suggest the Queen might be at fault. The bioluminescent lights flickered erratically, reflecting Ferrara's momentary loss of composure. "Prepare him," she ordered, her voice betraying nothing of the turmoil Lucas's words had stirred within her. Attendants moved forward with practiced efficiency, attaching crystalline nodes to Lucas's temples. As they worked, his eyes never left Ferrara's face, studying the subtle shifts in her expression, searching for weaknesses in her millennia-old armor of isolation. "The preliminary trial begins," announced a court official as the bioluminescent patterns intensified around both Lucas and Ferrara. Lucas closed his eyes, drawing upon years of military training to compartmentalize his thoughts. The Queen's mind approached his like a tidal wave, ancient, powerful, and filled with memories that no human was meant to witness. The first tendrils of her consciousness brushed against his mental barriers, testing for weakness. Within Lucas's mind, a battlefield materialized, not one of physical combat, but of mental discipline. He had learned long ago how to section off his pain, how to preserve core memories while sacrificing peripheral ones. Each fallen comrade, each mission gone wrong, each personal loss had taught him to build mental walls that could withstand torture, deprivation, and loss. As Ferrara's consciousness pressed harder, images from her own past flooded into Lucas's mind. Her first hunt as a child, crystalline fauna falling beneath her claws, her first kill in defense of the Empire, the weight of the crown being placed upon her head, and beneath it all, a crushing loneliness that spanned centuries. Lucas struggled to maintain separation between her memories and his own. His discipline wavered under the alien nature of her thoughts, concepts with no human equivalent, sensations beyond Earth's spectrum, emotions tied to biological imperatives humans didn't possess. "Remarkable resistance," murmured a royal observer as the bioluminescent lights pulsated in time with their competing consciousnesses. Inside their shared mental space, Ferrara pressed her advantage. 47 have failed. Her thoughts whispered across his mind. 47 superior beings whose minds shattered like glass. What makes you think a primitive human can succeed? Lucas didn't respond with words, but with memories, of surviving when others fell, of maintaining sanity in isolation, of rebuilding purpose after devastating loss. Each memory formed another barrier, another anchor for his sense of self. "If I fall," his thoughts finally answered hers. "What becomes of you, Queen? How many more must die before you question the tradition itself?" The unexpected counterattack made Ferrara's mental assault falter. For a brief moment, her own shield slipped, revealing a glimpse of her true self. Not the imperious queen, but a being trapped by duty and ancient expectations. Desperately seeking connection yet terrified of vulnerability. The physical chamber reflected their mental battle. The bioluminescent lights surged and dimmed in rhythm with their mental exchanges. Lucas's heartbeat accelerated, then steadied as he regained control. Ferrara's breathing pattern shifted from mechanical precision to something more erratic. Court observers exchanged glances of disbelief as minutes stretched into an hour. No previous candidate had lasted more than 15 minutes under Ferrara's telepathic scrutiny. After what seemed an eternity, the Queen withdrew from Lucas's mind. The abrupt separation left him gasping, his body sagging against his restraints, but his eyes remained clear and focused. "He endures," Ferrara announced, her voice carrying a hint of wonder despite her attempt at detachment. "Prepare the physical compatibility chamber." As guards moved to support Lucas's unsteady form, Ferrara turned away, her back rigid with tension. For the first time in 47 trials, she faced a candidate who had not only survived, but had glimpsed parts of herself she had kept hidden for millennia. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. "Perhaps," she whispered to herself, "this one might be suitable." The physical compatibility chamber differed dramatically from the austere ritual space. Deep purple silk draped the walls, absorbing sound and creating an intimate atmosphere. Mesmerizing statues of ancient deities lined the perimeter, their positions suggesting movements of a cosmic dance. A sweet, intoxicating fragrance permeated the air, a rare botanical extract known to enhance sensory perception. Ferrara entered wearing ceremonial attire that revealed more of her blue-tinged skin than her previous formal robes. The black silk wrapped around her athletic form emphasized her inhuman grace and the latent strength in her limbs. Her platinum hair had been arranged in an elaborate pattern, symbolizing openness to connection. Lucas stood at the center of the chamber, now freed from his restraints, but still surrounded by guards. His expression remained carefully neutral as he took in the changed environment and Ferrara's transformed appearance. The second trial tests physical and emotional resonance, Ferrara explained, dismissing the guards with a gesture. As they departed, the massive doors sealed behind them, leaving Queen and candidate alone. "I survived your mental invasion," Lucas observed. "What exactly does this trial entail?" "The mind may connect, but bodies must also harmonize." Ferrara approached him, with measured steps. Varluran biology requires compatibility at multiple levels. 47 bodies rejected the connection, even when their minds showed promise. She circled him slowly, her crimson eyes taking inventory of every scar visible on his skin. "Your species is remarkably similar to ours in some ways, yet fundamentally different in others." "And if I'm incompatible?" Lucas asked. "Then you die," she stated simply, "but more painfully than in the mental trial." Without warning, she reached out, her fingertips grazing his forearm. Where she touched, his skin tingled with an electric sensation that spread upward. Lucas flinched, but didn't retreat. "Your nervous system responds," she noted with clinical detachment, though something in her eyes suggested deeper interest. "That's promising." As her fingers traced a prominent scar on his bicep, Lucas experienced a cascade of sensations, not just physical, but emotional. Each touch transmitted echoes of Ferrara's own experiences, fragments of memory and feeling that bypassed conscious thought. "What is this?" he asked, his voice rougher than before. "Tactile telepathy," Ferrara explained. "A more intimate form than what you experienced in the first trial. It reveals compatibility, or its absence." With each successive touch, the connection between them intensified. Lucas felt his heartbeat synchronizing with hers, his breathing adjusting to match her rhythm. The bioluminescent patterns embedded in the floor beneath them responded, pulsing in harmony with their aligned physiological states. Yet, in this increasing intimacy, Lucas began to perceive what had been hidden during the mental trial, Ferrara's own spiritual scars. Beneath her composed exterior lay centuries of pain, the isolation of rulership, the weight of 47 deaths, and deeper still, secrets she kept even from herself. "You're holding back," he observed, catching her wrist as she reached to touch another scar. "Even now, you're shielding parts of yourself." Ferrara's eyes widened in surprise at his insight and at his boldness in touching her, uninvited. "I shield what must be shielded," she responded, but uncertainty tinged her voice. "Is that why they all died?" Lucas pressed. "Not because they were incompatible, but because you never truly opened yourself to the connection." A flash of memory escaped Ferrara's control, her first days as queen, desperately trying to complete the ritual correctly, holding back traumatic memories that had driven her predecessor to madness. Each successive failure had reinforced her caution, each death adding to her guilt. "If I revealed everything," she whispered, "no consort could bear it." "You don't know that," Lucas countered. "You've never tried." Their gazes locked in silent confrontation, both recognizing the precipice before them. Ferrara struggled between her duty to maintain the Empire's strength and her growing certainty that this human might be different from all who came before. Lucas battled his own conflicting impulses, survival instinct warring with a deepening fascination with this alien queen, whose loneliness matched his own. The physical connection between them intensified as the chamber responded to their emotional state. The bioluminescent patterns swirled more vigorously, casting undulating shadows across their faces. The air grew heavier with the botanical fragrance, enhancing each sensation to near overwhelming levels. Ferrara's hand trembled slightly as she placed it over Lucas's heart. "Your species is physically weaker than mine," she observed. Yet your mind withstood what 47 stronger beings could not. How? Perhaps because I've already lost everything that mattered, Lucas answered truthfully. When you have nothing left to lose, fear loses its power. Something in his words resonated, with a part of Ferrara she had long suppressed. A yearning for honesty, for connection without the weight of imperial expectations. A single tear formed in her crimson eye, shocking the attendants who monitored the chamber from hidden observation points. In all her centuries of rule, Queen Ferrara had never shown such vulnerability. Lucas reached up, his motion deliberate and unhurried, and caught the tear on his fingertip. "I've seen enough pain in you," he said quietly. "Now, I want to understand the person behind the mask." The physical compatibility trial ended with neither death nor failure, but with a moment of unexpected connection that left both participants shaken. As they prepared for the final, most crucial phase of the ritual, whispers spread throughout the palace. Perhaps at last, the cycle of death might end. The true bonding chamber was the most sacred space in the Varluran Empire, a perfect circular room with no observers, no recordings, and no interference. Here, in absolute privacy, the final and most dangerous phase would occur. The ancient bonding matrix, dormant since Ferrara's ascension to the throne, hummed to life as they entered. Channels carved into the obsidian floor, filled with bioluminescent fluid, creating intricate patterns that mapped the neural pathways necessary for complete union. As the mechanism activated fully, the blue light gradually shifted toward white, a sign that the preliminary conditions had been met. Ferrara and Lucas stood facing each other at the center of the pattern, both adorned in the traditional white garments of the final ritual. No restraints bound Lucas now. At this stage, physical constraints were meaningless. Either their souls would harmonize, or one or both would perish in the attempt. Once initiated, there is no stopping the process, Ferrara warned, her voice steady despite the enormity of what they were about to attempt. The ancient technology will force our minds together completely. If we cannot achieve harmony, we both die, Lucas finished for her. I understand. You cannot possibly understand, Ferrara countered. No human has ever experienced this level of consciousness merging. Your mind could be obliterated, even if your body survives. Lucas met her gaze with unwavering determination. Then guide me. With a solemn nod, Ferrara reached out and placed her hands on either side of his face. Lucas mirrored her gesture, his hands cool against her warmer skin. The moment their touch completed the circuit, the ancient telepathic technology surged to life with blinding intensity. Their separate consciousnesses were yanked from physical reality into a shared mental landscape, a realm where thought became form and memory took physical shape. Ferrara's mindscape appeared as a vast volcanic mountain, glowing with internal power, yet surrounded by empty, barren plains. Lucas's manifested as a battlefield, covered with the shadows of fallen comrades. Each memory of loss, a tangible presence. As these mental realms collided, both fought for stability. Ferrara instinctively tried to shield her deepest memories, the source of her power, but also her greatest vulnerability. Lucas sensed her withdrawal and pushed against it. If you don't fully commit, he projected into their shared consciousness, the connection will fail. I didn't survive your tests just to become another corpse on your floor. You don't understand what you're asking, Ferrara's thoughts responded, tinged with genuine fear. If I release everything, my alien bloodline might lose signal strength. The Empire needs my full power. The Empire needs a living queen, not another failed ritual, Lucas countered, opening more of his own painful memories to her. The loss of his family in Earth's colonial wars, the deaths of squad mates under his command, the emptiness that had followed him into space. I'm giving you everything. You must do the same. Around them in the physical chamber, the bonding matrix responded to their mental struggle. The white light fluctuated wildly, sometimes dimming to near darkness, other times flaring with blinding intensity. The obsidian floor vibrated with power as the ancient technology strained to harmonize two fundamentally different beings. In their shared mindscape, Lucas recognized what needed to be done. Complete bonding required not just transparency, but active sharing of burdens. He began the process by opening the most guarded chambers of his consciousness, memories so painful he had locked them away from himself. This is how it works. His thoughts flowed to her, not just revealing, but accepting. Take my pain as I take yours. Ferrara hesitated at the precipice of complete vulnerability. If I open completely, I may die. No ruler has ever survived full disclosure. No ruler has ever tried with someone who understood loss as I do, Lucas responded. Trust me, as I'm trusting you with everything I am. Their mental forms moved closer in the shared space, the volcanic landscape of Ferrara's mind beginning to intermingle with Lucas's battlefield. Where they touched, new formations appeared, neither volcanic nor battlefield, but something entirely new. With a final moment of hesitation, Ferrara surrendered her last defenses. The full weight of her millennia of existence flooded into their shared consciousness. The crushing loneliness of rulership, the guilt of 47 deaths, the terror of failing her people, and beneath it all, a desperate yearning for genuine connection that had been denied her since birth. The moment of complete vulnerability triggered a transformation in their shared mindscape. The separate landscapes dissolved, replaced by a blinding corridor of pure light that stretched infinitely in all directions. Their separate consciousnesses merged not by one consuming the other, but by creating something greater than either alone. In the physical chamber, the transformation manifested as an explosion of white light that briefly overwhelmed the ancient mechanisms designed to contain it. A soundless vibration radiated outward from the chamber, felt rather than heard throughout the palace, what observers would later describe as thunderous silence. Within the light, Lucas and Ferrara experienced perfect understanding, each knowing the other completely, accepting without judgment, supporting without condition. Their heartbeats synchronized, their neural patterns aligned, and their separate life forces wove together into a stronger whole. When the light finally dimmed to manageable levels, they stood facing each other, physically unchanged, yet fundamentally transformed. Ferrara's life force, which had been slowly draining with each failed ritual, now flowed strong and vibrant. Lucas's battle-worn body showed subtle signs of regeneration, old scars beginning to fade. They gazed at each other in reverent silence, seeing truly for the first time. The connection they now shared transcended the requirements of the ritual. They had found in each other not just compatibility, but completion. Understanding, Ferrara whispered, the word carrying layers of meaning impossible to fully articulate. Survival, Lucas responded. Love, they concluded simultaneously, the concept bridging their different worlds with unexpected perfection. The announcement of the successful bond threw the imperial court into chaos. When Ferrara led Lucas into the throne room, still wearing the white garments of the ritual, gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembled nobles. General Kestre, commander of the imperial forces and staunch traditionalist, stepped forward with barely contained outrage. "This is blasphemy," he declared, pointing accusingly at Lucas. "A human cannot hold the sacred position of imperial consort. The bloodline must remain pure." Ferrara's expression remained serene despite the challenge. "The sacred soul bond has been completed successfully for the first time in my reign. The ancient laws are clear. He who survives the bonding becomes consort, regardless of origin." Lucas stood beside her, his posture reflecting his military background. "I have not only saved the Queen's life, but opened a path for the future of your empire." Before Kestra could respond, Vex, the diplomatic advisor and eldest member of the court, approached the throne and knelt before Ferrara. "The soul bond has been confirmed according to ancient protocol," he announced formally. "I recognize Lucas of Earth as imperial consort." Others followed Vex's lead, some genuinely supportive, others merely pragmatic enough to recognize the shift in power. Still, a significant portion of the court remained with Kestra, their expressions ranging from disgust to barely concealed hatred. "This human is a traitor to pure bloodlines," Kestra shouted. "Anyone who supports this abomination will face execution when proper order is restored." "Enough!" Ferrara's voice carried the full weight of her renewed power. "Lucas is under my protection as imperial consort. The laws of Varlura will adapt to this new reality." The confrontation established battle lines that would define the coming months. Ferrara convened a special assembly to debate the Galactic Harmony Act, legislation that would formally recognize interspecies bonds and alliances throughout the Empire. The proposal sparked fierce debate, with traditionalists predicting the collapse of Varluran civilization, while progressives envisioned a new era of cooperation. For Ferrara personally, the successful bond brought unprecedented changes. The emptiness that had haunted her for centuries began to fill with new experiences: happiness without reservation, concern for another's well-being, affection freely given and received. Yet these new emotions also brought vulnerability. For the first time, she had something to lose beyond her crown. Lucas underwent his own adjustments. From prisoner of war to imperial consort, his status had transformed overnight. He found himself appointed as military and diplomatic advisor, his human perspective suddenly valued in imperial deliberations. Still, he struggled with his new role, wondering if he could maintain his human identity under the pressures of imperial politics. Both carried their own persistent fears. Ferrara worried about tradition-inspired rebellion, about her people's potential rejection, about assassination attempts that might target Lucas rather than herself. She worked to balance her newfound personal happiness with her enduring political responsibilities. Lucas continued to honor his fallen Earth comrades, while adapting to alien thought patterns that now intermingled with his own. He worried that he might never fully integrate into Varluran society, that Ferrara might eventually succumb to political pressure and push him away. The ripples of their bond extended far beyond personal concerns. Neighboring royal houses, the Andorians, Cathari, and Spherians, sent envoys to study the secret of the bond. Some attempted similar interspecies connections, with varying degrees of success, creating new precedents throughout the galaxy. Meanwhile, conservative factions across the universe quietly recruited assassins to target the couple, viewing their union as a threat to established power structures. Security around the palace intensified as intelligence reports revealed multiple plots in development. Throughout the palace and beyond, a sense of transformation took hold. The Empire had begun to change, but the shadows of resistance lingered in every corridor of power. The Galactic Harmony Act passed by a narrow margin after months of debate, formally recognizing the rights of interspecies bonds throughout Varluran territory. Other civilizations followed suit, accepting the possibility of meaningful connections across species barriers. The Obsidian Ceremony Chamber, once a place of death and ritual sacrifice, was transformed into the Interspecies Soul Research Center, where scientists, priests, and warriors from many planets came to study the principles that had made Ferrara and Lucas's bond possible. Ferrara's governance evolved alongside her personal growth. She learned to balance emotion with duty, building an administration based on respect for diversity rather than enforcement of tradition. Her renewed life force and the stability provided by the successful bond allowed her to implement long-term reforms that had previously seemed impossible. Lucas established himself as both imperial consort and Grand General of the Interstellar Alliance, using his combat experience and human perspective to develop synergetic technologies that benefited multiple species. His unique position as a bridge between humanity and the Var-Luran Empire opened diplomatic channels that had been closed for generations. Together, they found happiness in simple moments, watching the triple sunrise from the palace balcony, sharing quiet embraces beneath the star-filled sky, building a personal connection that transcended their public roles. Yet beneath the surface of their achievements, dangerous elements remained active. Intelligence reports identified several extremist factions still plotting revolution. The court maintained vigilance, but Ferrara and Lucas faced these threats with confidence, born of their shared strength. "The time has come for trust to overcome fear," Ferrara declared during a public address marking the anniversary of their bond. Their journey continued beyond the borders of the empire. When the Andorian kingdom experienced its own bonding crisis, Ferrara and Lucas embarked on a diplomatic mission to share their experience. What awaited them there remained unknown, both to them and to the empire they temporarily left behind. Throughout the known universe, the impact of their union spread in tangible ways. The image of Ferrara and Lucas appeared on imperial currency, on the redesigned flag showing two energy streams flowing in parallel. Children across 1,000 planets drew pictures of the Blue Queen and the Earth Warrior. A new belief took root in the collective consciousness. No tradition, no matter how ancient, was beyond transformation through the power of connection and love. As their diplomatic vessel departed for Andoria, Lucas stood beside Ferrara on the observation deck, their hands linked in the familiar gesture that had sealed their bond. "Do you think what we've built will last?" he asked, watching their home planet recede into the cosmic distance. Ferrara's crimson eyes reflected the starlight as she considered the question. "Some traditions will resist change for millennia, but we've proven that connection is stronger than isolation, that understanding can overcome fear, and that love can bridge even the gap between stars," Lucas added. They stood in comfortable silence, two beings from different worlds who had found in each other something neither had believed possible, a home that existed not in physical space, but in shared consciousness. Behind them, the Var-Luran Empire continued its transformation. Before them lay unknown challenges and possibilities. Between them flowed the unbreakable bond that had changed the course of galactic history, not through conquest or technology, but through the simple, revolutionary act of complete understanding. Whether their love could permanently change a universe of 1,000 stars remained to be seen. Whether ancient, harsh traditions could be fully erased was still uncertain. But in creating something that had never existed before, a true bond between fundamentally different beings, they had opened a door that could never again be closed. And as their ship accelerated toward distant Andoria, the white light of their shared consciousness pulsed between them, illuminating not just their joined hands, but the infinite possibilities of the path they had chosen together.